This is how running hurts your wrestling. It's simply a time thing. If you're a high school coach or a youth coach and you only have a 2-hour practice or 2.5-hour practice, the guys get their shoes on. They might run the hallways or go outside on a 2 or 3 mile run. They come back, they get back in the locker room. By the time they get dressed again, holy cow, you've wasted 45 minutes, maybe even an hour of your practice time. Just think if you had an hour of hand fighting, an hour of down blocking and head blocking, an hour of jump on your knees for an hour and get to a single leg and have someone sprawl on your back and say, here's the 4 best finishes from a single leg when someone sprawls on your back. Now drill just these 4 things for 1 hour. Now you're developing skill. You say, well, can I run and do all that? Well, I guess if you want to have 4.5-hour practices, but for the most part, the only running I would do would be some very intensive sprints. Not every practice. Every 3rd or 4th practice, running some hills or bleachers, sprints, anaerobic running was definitely beneficial. As a high school coach, when I was a high school coach years ago, now I just coach our academy and camps full time since 1999. That's all I've done is professional training. So we don't run in our program at all. But I do tell the kids, hey, you know what? After practice, hammer out 10 or 12 good sprints. Maybe if you have a dual meet on a Thursday, maybe on a Sunday, you want to kind of, get a good sweat, maybe get your weight down a little bit. You might put your sweat gear on, go run a bunch of hills, right? Then stretch out a little bit. That's a good Sunday workout, right? And you give yourself a minimum of 3 days to recover because it's really intense anaerobic work. You need some recovery time. But for the most part, as a coach, I would avoid the running unless it's just sprints after practice on occasion or something. The reason being is, like I said, it's just you don't have time for it. So that's my stance on running. Now, as far as wrestling camp is concerned too, you should not spend $500 to $2,000 on a wrestling camp to run. See, that's the coaches, they say we're doing this to make you tough. Well, try staying in a wrestling stance for 28 days and getting 20,000 reps of drilling. That's what we do at our 28-day camp. We have a no running guarantee because you can run at home for free. If you have 3 practices a day and one of your practices is running, 1/3 of your practice time, that's like 7 or 8 or 9 days of your practice wrestling camp that you paid for, your hard-earned money. You're never going to get that time back either. You spent running. This is not cross-country camp. They go, well, it makes my kid tough. Well, how does that make your kid tough? I think drilling for an hour and 45 minutes straight until you feel like your legs are going to fall off, that's way more difficult. There are 60-year-old women who have survived breast cancer who run marathons. Not knocking 60-year-old women, but running isn't that hard. Staying in a wrestling stance and drilling wrestling technique, bam, 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 for 5 days, 10 days, 14 days, however long the camp is. In our case, our 28-day camp. That's mental toughness. You want to make your kids tough, you make them stay in a wrestling stance and drill. Running is a break to say, I have 28 days of wrestling camp and I get to jog outside in the sunshine with my headphones on and talk to my buddies for 9 days. That's a break. Now, I kind of wish I had running at my camp. It'd be nice to sit in my office and play on my iPhone 1/3 of the time while my coaches are riding a mountain bike around, watching kids listen to their iPhone and jog. It's much harder for a coach and a camp director and a camp operator like myself to say every second of every practice is spent wrestling. That's much more difficult. So certainly, if you're going to a wrestling camp, you should say, do you offer a no running guarantee? No running, no push-ups, no wasted time. Yep, we can do that at home for free. We need technique, we need drill time, I need skill development. My son or daughter does not have a lot of time until their wrestling career is over. It is crunch time. Please do not make them run 1 out of 3 practices a day. So for camps, definitely don't run. But if you're a runner, you like to run a little bit, do it as long as it doesn't eat up your practice time. From a coach, I would avoid it because it's definitely going to eat up your practice time. And lastly, if I did any running, it would be sprints and bleachers once a week, maybe twice. Make sure you get a 3 or 4 day break before your competition so your legs can recover. And I think probably you won't find too many experts who disagree with my advice on running. We want to be wrestlers wrestle, leave the running to cross country runners, and that's a pretty good way to approach it. Good luck.